Hi, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. And today I have on my channel Sonya B. Welcome, Sonya.
Hey everybody, how are you, Queenie?
Hi, how are you?
I am doing good, thank you.
Okay, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm author Sonya B. Um, I stay in Texas, and I have two sons and my lovely husband. And I really just started writing back in May, I think it was, and
Oh,
I had been contemplating for years to write because I'm an avid reader. I mean, I could read up to 5 to 6 books in a week. Well, I used to before I started writing, but before then, I mean, I have so many books. I had to buy like two big bookshelves to put them on.
mhm,
And, I would switch between using Kindle Unlimited, and if I liked it, I would buy the paperback or the hardback
mhm,
of it to add to my
mhm,
collection. So I had always, kind of played with the idea of writing. So I started writing this story about it was over 2 years ago, and I would pick it up every now and then and look at it and might add a couple of words to it and be like, I'm gonna do it, but then I would sit there and talk myself out of it. And so back in May, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna put it out there, and if it does good, fine. If it doesn't, at least I can say I did it. You know what I mean? So,
mhm.
and the story was actually my first book out of the blue, and I finished it, and I sent it out to a few publishers. And so I had some that were hitting me back about it and everything and stuff. And so um, Christine Gray, who is actually the CEO of over After Hours Publication, had hit me
Mhm.
up, and she really liked the story. And so she called me personally and talked to me and everything and stuff, and we clicked. And so I decided to go with After Hours, and so that was in May. And Out of the Blue was published and released on July 31st, and that's when it all started.
Oh, wow. Okay. What is your genre?
Paranormal romance, shapeshifters like werewolves, or let's see, we have wolves, we have panthers, we have eagles, foxes, lynx, um, eagles. Um, yeah, so shapeshifters, really paranormal romance with shapeshifters.
Do you think you would write in another genre?
Yes, I have a book that unique words. We call it my challenge book because my books that I've written so far have been paranormal, but this book
Mhm,
here
mhm,
started. It's actually more of a, I wouldn't call it a mafia book, but it's
mhm.
along that style. But it's gonna be like my other books, with action and romance and all that and everything itself. It won't have the shapeshifters in it though.
Okay. Let's talk about your books now. You can show the cover and talk about each book that you have with you.
This is the first one, Out of the Blue.
Hmm.
This is my baby. This one here is about Blue Andorra, who is the owner of a tattoo shop called Sultry Ink. There she has her employees that she considers her family. One is Haas, who is a panther shifter. The second one is Rocket, who is an eagle shifter. And the third one is Pix, who is a fox shifter. And the story revolves around her. She meets her true mate in an awkward way. He actually comes into the shop with his friends
Hmm.
who are I'm not fox, I'm sorry, wolf shifters. And she doesn't want to accept the bonding with him or whatever because, she has some stuff that she dealt with in the past with her mom her mom was killed, and it was just her and her dad. And then her dad had got killed in the line of duty. He was a detective. And so she just never wanted to deal with the heartbreak of losing a mate. So, but Jax, who is her mate, isn't taking no for an answer. So she has some stuff come up from her parents' past of why they were from Africa, from a werewolf tribe in Africa. to leave because they were true mates, but her grandfather didn't want to accept it and was trying to make her bond with somebody else. So someone from that past, that of her parents, comes over and they are trying to claim Blue as their mate, and so there starts the bonding of the family with everybody and stuff like that and whatever. And then Jackson Blue, they bond, and they everybody band together to destroy that enemy. So yeah, that was Out of the Blue, and that one there is my baby. So Out of the Blue, that's book number one, Sultry Inc. series. The second one is A Vixen's Redemption. This one revolves around Pix, who is the receptionist of the Sultry Inc. tattoo shop. She had some stuff happen to her in the past which made her leave home because she didn't want to put her family in jeopardy. Her mate is actually Deadwood, who she calls Wood, who is actually Jax's best friend. And that the reason why she left home ends up comes back to haunt her, and she's trying to find a way to figure out how to deal with it on her own, without having to bring her family into it and have her mom and dad and everybody else get harmed in the way. Well, Deadwood finds out about it, which everybody else finds out about it. So they go back to her hometown in Harper, Texas, and Herrick, which is the bad guy, has kidnapped her sister. So they go and they save the sister, and her and Deadwood, they actually bond, which he kind of figured that they were roommates, but she didn't really know because, she's a fox, he's a panther, and they're just, her fox and her were confused, and Deadwood had to make her see the light, like, you are my mate, I've always known, you know what I mean? So this one, so that one is A Vixen's Redemption. The third one is His Goddess. This one is about Rocket, who is an eagle shifter, and he's a tattoo artist at Sultry Inc. also. This one is about Rocket is a playboy of the shop. Like, he has girls coming in acting a fool, trying to tear stuff up because he tells them, I'm not looking for anything serious, and how some are, they're like, well, I could change him, and because he already knew that someday his true mate was gonna come, and they just didn't know that his true mate that's coming is actually Blue's cousin. So in this story here, Blue's cousin comes and with her grandfather from Africa, and her name is Zoronda, and she's actually coming to challenge Blue, because with Blue being the oldest grandchild, she is actually the heir to being the female alpha of their pack in Africa. So Zoronda can't take that title with Blue still being alive. So her and the grandfather is actually planning all these lies in Zoronda's head. So she just has one side of the story. So when she gets there and she hears, the background and everything that's happening, she's questioning everything that her grandfather's ever told her. So they kind of, and at the same time, the grandfather has actually promised her to somebody else. And so this guy shows up too. And so it's an all-out war. And to say that, Blue, Jax, Rocket, Zoronda, all them, Hoss, they all band together yet again to battle and take this enemy out again. And and in these stories here, you have action, it's some comedy in there, it's some little touching moments and stuff like that or whatever, and I try to put that in all my books and everything, because I don't want it to be all just serious. So to just kind of get a chuckle in there and then kind of just be like, oh, that was real sweet. So, so that one there is His Goddess. That's book number 3. And book 4, which is Once Claimed, This one is about Steady, who is actually Jax's one of Jax's best friends too. He's like the kind of he's quiet, you know what I mean, but he's kind of a jokester sometimes too. And this one here revolves around um, him and the other people in the family didn't know, except for Jackson Deadwood, that Steady actually did have a true mate that he bonded with years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just so happened that he was at a tattoo convention because he's a tattoo artist now too. And he sees her. And so when he sees her, he's, gonna go and approach her, and the people who actually took her away from him, and he stops because he sees this little boy. And I forgot to mention too that these books here, they are interracial romance.
Mm-hmm.
The leading women are African American, and the guys are Caucasian. So anyway, he sees this little boy who has this tan skin and this curly, wavy, reddish brown hair that has these green eyes that look just like him. And he knows that he sees that it's his son. He puts two and two together. Well, he follows them. And the whole time that he, has been looking for her and he's never been able to find her, she's only been 2 hours away from him. So,
Wow.
except that the guy that took her had all her stuff erased in the system as far as the government or whatever. It explains in the story how he did that. Well, of course, the family band is together again, and her and the lead female character of this book, her name is Trinity, and her brother, who is a part of the motorcycle club that has taken her, has like completely turned his back on her because he doesn't want to give up his position within the club. So yeah, this one here was kind of a that's it was like a heartwarming one because they kind of get back together and kind of learn each other again, and then it's just the fact of him not knowing that he actually had a son out there, and then he finally gets to meet his son and stuff like that. And so this one here was actually a pretty good one too. This is probably one of my favorite ones too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I recommend everybody read this one too, which is Once Claimed.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth book, which is not in paperback yet, is called A Beast of My Dreams. Well, Beast of My Dreams, I'm sorry. That one there is about Jazz, who is the baby of the bunch, who everybody is protective of. And she is actually Pix's baby sister.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one that the guy, Herrick, who was the reason why Pix had left home years ago, he kidnapped her from in book one. And so in this book here, A Beast of My Dreams, she's kind of hesitant about, being around men just because of what she went through and stuff. So she eventually she starts dating, and she starts dating this guy named Edric. And he seems he's nice and everything, and total gentleman. The ladies like him. Of course, the brothers, they hate it. Well, they don't hate him, they just don't like him. It's just something about him that they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're all going to Omaha, Nebraska, to where Jack, Steady, and Deadwood's family are from, and where their pack originated from. So they're going there for Christmas. Now, I didn't really try to make this book a Christmas book. It just kind of happened that way, and it came out around that time. And so anyway, so they go there, and she invites him, but at the same time, she's having these dreams about this mystery man who she can't see his face in the dream. She just know that he has this long, like, dark, crazy hair, and he has this ear stash and everything and stuff. And the only thing that she could see in his face are these weird looking eyes. Like, he has one eye is like almost white, and and one eye is almost white, and the other eye is like black.
Mm-hmm.
So she dreams about this man who she doesn't know, like, who this man is. And so anyway, so they go to Omaha and they're there stuff, and they take the fellas take Edric out on this hunting trip. He doesn't want to go because that's not his thing. You know, he's not. So what I failed to mention from starting from book 2, there's this character named Uncle Butch, who everybody loves. All the readers, that's all they want to know is about Uncle Butch. And so they go out on this hunting trip, and Edric doesn't want to go, and Uncle Butch is like, you know, you're half animal, so that's a part of your, you know, your nature to hunt. You know, so they go out, they come back, and the women, they all come back, and so Edric's looking sick because, you know, they're over there cutting up this deer, and he's green around the gills and everything. So, you know, Jazz kind of, you know, go to console him, and he just like kind of disrespectful towards her. And so Haas, you know, who always sees, you know, Jazz as his little sister, sticks up for her. So, you know, that kind of blew up a little bit, but of course Uncle Butch, you know, calmed it all down. And so then they all go out that night to just kind of, you know, cool things down and everything and stuff. Well, long story short, Edric does not turn out to be who he really is. He is actually working for the enemy. I won't say who the enemy is. And he tries to kidnap Jazz, but she's saved by a beast. And so, and come to find out, this beast is actually her true mate. And so when after she meets him and everything, and he takes her back home, and his name is actually Parrish, and he is actually someone who Jax, Edward, and Steady considered as their little brother that grew up with them, but he had some crazy stuff happen to him when he was younger too. And so just with him and Jazz, you know, both of them had stuff that, you know, they both had went through that they had to deal with. And so they're there to comfort each other and stuff. And when he takes her back to everybody, to the family and stuff like that, you know, the enemy presents itself. And, you know, of course, they got to do battle again. And of course, he's going to come out on top. So that one there, you know, it has like a pretty much of a Beauty and the Beast kind of feel to it, because he does call her Beauty. And, you know, while she was dreaming of him, he was actually dreaming of her too. So that one there is book 5, which is Beast of My Dreams. And then we have book 6, which just came out Friday, so it's not on paperback yet either, which is called A True Kind of Love, which is about Uncle Butch, who everybody wanted a book about Uncle Butch, and so they got a book about Uncle Butch. And this one here, everybody wants to know Uncle Butch's backstory. And I tell a lot of my readers that when I wrote the character of Uncle Butch, he's actually based off my dad, who passed away 3 years ago. So all the mannerism that he has with this stare that he does, and just like how he's so protective of the kids and the babies and stuff like that, that was just like my dad. But Uncle Butch has this knife called Trudy, and he has a thing of making this knife dance in his hand. So in this story here, A True Kind of Love, you find out his backstory, and that he actually did have a true mate that he rejected because of some stuff that happened to him in the war. And he felt that he couldn't be with his true mate, who happens to be named Trudy also, that he couldn't give her the life that she wanted. And so he pushed her away a long time ago. And it's funny how they met back up, because she was actually Jack's mother and father, personal chef. So it's like a continuance from book 5. How book 5 ended is how book 6 starts. Okay. So in this story here, we learn about Uncle Butch's past with his past and Trudy's past and stuff. And of course, we have enemies that are going to try to come in. And in this story here, Jax, Deadwood, and Steady, they are actually taking over their father's position. Jack's father was the alpha of the Devil Wolves pack. Deadwood's father was the beta, and Steady's father was the omega. So they've all moved to Omaha now, and so while they're transitioning and learning their roles and stuff like that, you have people within the pack who's like kind of fighting against them. Mm-hmm. Then Jax is challenged by another alpha from a different pack. And so, stuff gets crazy as once again and ensues. And so we learn why Uncle Butch was actually called, when he was in this elite tactical unit in the Army, on missions when he would go out, his his tactical unit members, his brothers in arms, they nicknamed him the Butcher. So we actually find out why he was nicknamed the Butcher. So this one here revolves around Uncle Butch's story and his true mate Trudy. So that one there, I'm waiting for it to come out on paperback too. So, but yeah, those are my 6 books that I have out currently. I am working on book number 7 and also the other book too.
Okay. When did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
I think I've always wanted to do it. I just was scared. Like I said, I started like that once. When you're reading, you try to put a lot of stuff into not into your stories, but you don't want to compare yourself to somebody else. And so that's what I would do. I would be like, well, no, I don't think my writing will be as good as this person's, so I've always wanted to do it. It's just that I was scared to do
it. Okay. Where did your love of books, reading, and writing come from?
Well, I've always loved reading. I mean, I've been reading since, I don't know, I could remember. The first book I ever read, my dad had a copy of Richard Wright's Black Boy. Yeah. And I probably read that book, I don't even know, so many times. And my mom actually still has it, and I keep saying I'm gonna kidnap it from her house. I'm gonna steal it because it's memory. Mm-hmm. But I've always loved reading, and as far as writing, I liked writing in high school. I never really liked writing papers, but I didn't mind doing it, and mm-hmm. So writing now it's kind of a form of escape, mm-hmm. But and it's easy. I thought it would be hard. But you start off and you're so into it that you look up and you got like over 20,000 words already done, and it's like, oh wow. My God, But I think if I was like in school and I had to write a paper, I would probably be, like, oh my God, are you serious? But doing it now, mm-hmm. for fun. Well, I won't say for fun, but just because I can do it, I like doing it.
What do you do when you're not writing?
I work. I laugh. I tell people, I'm like, I'm on the clock 24/7. So, I work. I'm a billing analyst for an ER at a hospital, mm-hmm. in my. So, when I'm not working, I'm at home, taking care of my family, mm-hmm. Trying to do family stuff, going on trips with my husband and stuff like that. And, we like to go fishing and, and my husband rides horses. So we go to a lot of trail rides and stuff. So, if I'm not reading or writing or working, that's probably what I'm doing.
Okay. What's the best way to market your books?
Well, actually, I'm with Unique Words LLC. She's actually my promoter. So she does a lot of promoting for me on a lot of different platforms. And of course, I'll promote some for myself on Facebook and on Instagram. And but she does a lot. I mean, she has a lot of platforms that she put it out there on. I'm actually a co-host of Oral Addiction, which is one of Drip the Mic's radio shows that I'm on every Saturday night. So, I talk about my work on there also. So that helps out a lot too.
Okay, you talked about um, your father being some similarities to Uncle Buck. So
Good.
how do you select the characters? How do you select your characters?
Um, I think Blue is kind of like me. I've always loved wolf shifters, and I like wolves. So I think Blue is kind of based off of me because I've always had a dream of owning a tattoo shop.
Mm-hmm.
As far as everyone else, they're just characters that kind of came up in my head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not really based on anybody except for Uncle Butch, who's based after my dad. So yeah, but the other ones, they're characters I came up with out of my crazy mind.
Where do you get your ideas from when you're writing a book?
They just come to me. After I finish one book, I'll just sit there and I'll think of how I want one to go. And a lot of times, like I said, when I did Out of the Blue, I never thought that we would be 6 books later into a series. I never thought that it would be a series. So when I finished Out of the Blue, and everybody wanted to know Pix's story, why was she this little meek, just quiet, but she was a firecracker at the same time. You know what I'm saying? If you pushed her, she's gonna come out the corner. And so, so I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll do Pix's story and Deadwood's story. And then when that one came to an end, the way I ended it kind of went into book number 3. So when I end them, it just, I kind of make it to where you could kind of wonder if it's going to continue or it might just end there. Well, that's how I did it before, but now I do it anyway. So the storyline it'll be a different story every time you read it. So most of the time it depends on how it ends. Then from there I'll just come up with, I'll do like a outline of how I want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll change it many times as I'm writing it, because I'll write everything out in my notebook, and then once I type it on my laptop, some stuff may change or I may add to it or whatever. So it's just while I'm writing is when a lot of the ideas will come to me.
Okay. What do you think makes a good story?
Um, I think if you could just capture the readers within that first chapter of, if you got like action in it, or if you got passion, or a steamy
Mm-hmm.
scene or like that or whatever. But it's always good to have something that's going to capture their attention, because I mean, like I said, I read books, and with that, the first 2 chapters, if it doesn't grab me, then I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, I'll keep going or whatever. So I try to keep it to where I can keep their attention on the book, and I don't want anybody to get bored and be like, oh, this is,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So I like to write things that's going to keep them, locked into the book.
Mm-hmm. What is your motivation to write?
Um, I think because I just like doing it now. You know, once I do it, and then when I stop, when I'm done writing a story, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a couple of days off. I'm not gonna do it. And then I find myself, writing little ideas down or whatever, or making notes in my phone and everything. So I just like doing it. If I stop doing it, I'm just like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do now? So I keep on going with it. So my motivation is to keep going, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
bored, because if I don't do it, if I don't write it, I'm gonna be bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I just keep going with it.
Okay. I had my candle going and the glass just cracked.
Oh,
I had to blow it out. I'm sorry. What has been the hardest thing about writing a book?
um, the well, the hardest part was, I think, in book 2, in Eviction Redemption. In there, you know, I had to write a scene where it was like the reason why Pix had left town, and the guy Herrick, he tried to rape her, so
Mm-hmm.
that was hard to write. And then also in that same book is when she finally came home years later, and her little brother Mikey, you know, they knocked on the door, and he answered the door, and he was like, you know, who is it? And she's just like, you know, it's Pix. And he opens the door, and like it was just, you know, just them seeing each other after so long, and the way they, you know, hugged each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just kind of like slowly went to the ground, hugging each other and crying and stuff like that. That was hard. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
when I wrote that scene or whatever, I made myself cry. I was like, oh my God, that's just so sad. I'm not, but it was happy. It was happy that, you know, after all those years that they finally, you know, came back together. And then the hardest one was this last one in book 6 with a true kind of love, because, you know, like I told you, you know, Uncle Butch is based after my dad, and so to write that steamy scene, it took me a week to write it, because I'm like, he based after my dad, man. I'm like, so I had this visual of Uncle Bush, so I had to sit there and put up that visual and look at that visual and not think about my dad and just look at that visual and write that scene, because it was so hard to write that scene.
Mm-hmm. Who would you like to collaborate with in writing a book?
Girl, there are so many awesome authors out there. You know, it would be hard to pick one. I mean, I love Amaya Black's books, and King Ellie and Yvonne Bennett and Mahogany Silver Rain and Jay Royal and Siren Allen. I mean, it's so many of them. I wouldn't even know where to pick. I would have to put all the names in a hat and just dig in and take one out and just pick one, because there's so many of
Okay. Um, what do you consider to be your best accomplishment thus far in the writing industry?
them. Probably just, you know, getting my name out there, and then having some of the authors who I, you know, used to sit back, well, I still do, and just read their books, and they reach out to you, and, you know, they speak to you. And, you know, when I first started, they reached out and gave me, you know, words of encouragement and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, just to be recognized by some of them is like an accomplishment, a big accomplishment to me. You know what I mean? So especially just starting out, you know.
Okay, what literary events do you have planned for this year?
This year, let's see, in April, I will be at the IRAE in Daytona. I'm not a featured author, but I will be there supporting some of my fellow authors, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and just kind of networking with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one in August in Chicago, and let's see what else. I actually have a book signing February 1st here in Texarkana, Texas. So we're unique words. She's you know, like I said, my promoter. She is getting me hooked up with a bunch of events this year, and so, you know, this is just the beginning of the year, and we're just I'm steadily writing stuff on my planners because I'll
Mm-hmm.
forget about it. So, you know, it stuff gets added every day. So I'm looking forward to, you know, attending these events and meeting some of these fabulous authors.
Mm-hmm. How can readers get in touch with you?
I am on Facebook at Sonya B, um, author, Sonya B dash author. You could, you know, find me there. I also have a group, which is Sonya B's Sultry Ink Readers Group, and people can join. And I post, um, what do you call them? My man candy pics, and you can see sneak peeks of my work that well, whatever book I'm working on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have other authors in there who, you know, I showcase their work too. I'm also on Instagram under I'm sorry, Sonya BB45. You could link up with me there, and I post a lot of my work and other stuff on there too. And so, and I'm also I have an author's page on Amazon, which is just under Sonya Brown. I mean, not Sonya, but Sonya B. So you can find me on Amazon also, and also on Goodreads. I'm on Goodreads also.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
Just to let everybody know that I'm coming hard this year. Last year, I just started writing, and in that short amount of time, I had 5 books out in 6 months. So this year, my goal is to try to put out a book a month, and so just for everybody, just to look out, look out for my work, and it'll be out there, and I'll be posting about it and everything and stuff. So yeah, look for more about the Soul Training series and new work I'm working on also.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you for coming in today on my channel. And again, this is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.